This may seem a bit surprising, but after starting the computer, it's a bit of a lengthy process. The rest, which is the other four basic steps, can be explained really rather quickly because they're pretty much how do I say, interrelated to one another, right? So basically, all of your application software, system software, and everything, once you have installed them, they will be in the hard disk drive, right? And once, if you want to launch them, they will be then inside the RAM, right? So all of this process involves all of these other four steps. Basically, OS will provide you with a user interface. There are three types of user interfaces, right? If you still remember, how do you, for example, open a game that you like, or open your assignment, the file that you have saved, or wanting to surf the web? Basically, you'll click on something. You'll click on an icon, right? So you click on an icon, and you're able to do this because your operating system is called the your user interface is called the graphical user interface. Right? So this is just one out of three different interfaces that we'll discuss about today. One is graphical user interface. We have another which is command line, right? And then another which is menu driven. Right? So graphical user interface has a lot to do with graphics. It has rich graphics. It has icons that you can click on, right? So you can write here graphics icon that you can click on. It has windows that you can click and drag, right? The icons appear on a desktop, so it's fairly easy to manage and manipulate, right? Meaning to say that the OS has done a really good job in coming up with the graphical user interface because it's really easy to use. Right? And that happens when you have lots of computing power, the way we have today. But before we have today's computers, we have like older computers, and sometimes for whatever reason, maybe we are attacked by viruses, or our computers lack RAM or something, or it crashes. You might have to use these other two interfaces. One is the menu driven, where basically if you want something, instead of having an icon that you can click immediately, basically you have a list of menus. It's like going to a restaurant and you have, like, for example, mains, right, appetizers, and then desserts, for example, right? So if you want something, you have to try and figure out your way of it. Let's say you want banana split, right? So you know that banana split shouldn't be in mains. It might or might not be in appetizers, but most probably it is in dessert, right? So just click on dessert. Then other menus will appear, right? Cold desserts, hot desserts, what kind of other desserts, Asian desserts, and whatnot, right? So you choose your menu from there one by one by one. So it's slightly trickier to use, the menu-driven interface, right? So it's based on text-based menus, right? Then we have the command line interface. This is even harder to use, right? If you want to use this, you have to know the exact command. It's like knowing the language, then only you can say something, right? Imagine you going to a foreign country and you want something, so you have to know the language, you have to know the grammar of the language, then only you can ask properly, right? So that is command line interface. Basically, you have somewhere that you can write on, and that somewhere that you can write on, you have to give exact instructions. If you miss a dot, or if you miss a letter, or your sentence is grammatically incorrect, the user interface won't do anything. The OS won't do anything for you, right? So that is the command line interface. It is hard to use because you have to remember commands, right? But it uses very little computing power. So in terms of computing power, this uses the least, this uses a little bit more, this uses the most computing power, right? So you need a lot of computing power for this. But in terms of ease of use, easiest to use, fairly easy to use, but still a bit hard because you need to figure out your way. Hardest to use, right? Because you really need to know your stuff. You really need to know your commands and etc. Right? Anyway, this is the graphical user interface. Now, back on our use of the graph. This is the user interface provided by the OS, right? So we're pretty much done with this. Okay. From the user interface, you can, for example, say, I want my favorite game to be launched, right? So how do you say that? You say that by clicking on an icon, meaning you actually provide an input to the computer. And the OS needs to know this. This guy just give an input, right? What really does he want, right? The OS will then go and figure out what actually that guy wants, for example. So it will actually go through the table, the file allocation table. Okay, this guy actually wants this, and I need to go look in the hard disk drive, right? Let's say the name of the game is Zombie Shoot, right? So it's Zombie Shoot ZS. Well, that almost sounds like the French saying something about someone's backside. Right? ZS. Anyway, so the OS will go to the hard disk drive, find the application, and then put it inside RAM, right? The application is in RAM. Now, if you look through this whole process again, you click on something, right? Then the OS says, okay, I need to get this, right? In getting this, the OS goes through a list from the table, right? And then knows exactly where that application is, right? Once the OS takes that application, the OS will then put it inside RAM. So this is, both will be done then, because every now and then, if you imagine your usage of computer, you might be listening to music while stalking your Facebook friends, and then your mom suddenly comes in and you quickly switch down Facebook so you can do your assignment. I'm doing my assignment, mom, right? So you're doing several things at once. Your assignment, Facebook, surfing the web, listening to music, maybe doing some downloads and whatever thing, right? And then you have your antivirus software running, your time and date running, calendar and everything, right? So you have several things running at once. All of these things will be inside RAM. So the OS needs to manage the RAM as it manages the application that you want to open by giving some kind of input, right? Because, and why are you able to give some kind of input? Because you have the user interface provided by the OS. Now, again, imagine we have all of these things inside RAM, right? Let's say you have the zombie shoot here. We forgot the most important thing. The most important thing is the OS. Remember, once you switch on your computer, the OS will always be inside your RAM, right? So this is RAM, just so we're clear. Right? Other than that, we have, like, for example, you're doing Microsoft Word, right? Maybe you're listening to music, MP3, right? You're downloading something using Internet Download Manager, and maybe you have your browser open, Google Chrome open, right? So you have several things running at once. Now, this is possible because you have the kind of software operating system which is called the multitasking, right? So it's a multitasking system instead of a single tasking operating system, right? So our operating system, the one that we have at home, is mostly multitasking, where we can do lots of things at once. And there are several systems which are single tasking. For example, if you have a computer at a hospital, right, it is just for a certain specific procedure or function, then it only have one system, single task at any one time. Or Android, for example, lots of Android devices are still single tasking. At any one time, you only open one task, right? And multitasking is where you can have several things running at once. You have the perception that several things are running at once, right? And you know which application will actually respond to you based on whether it is foreground or background, right? foreground application is the one that has the windows in full, and the window looks vibrant, meaning the color looks lively. So if you type something or click something, that application will respond to you. The others won't. And that is foreground application. Then we have the background application. Right. So this is managing RAM. What happens? If say you're almost full, your RAM is almost full. Alamak, you have all of these things running, and then suddenly the user says something again, right? You still want to open some more application. When that happens, meaning when RAM is almost full, right? And then more applications need more space. It's like RAM is like a space where you do work. Here I have more space, empty space, right? If I don't have any more empty space, what happens that I might start writing on the wall or something. I might start writing on this guy, right? And so I might start writing on something else. I might start writing on my shirt or something, right? So when RAM is almost full, the OS will make use of the virtual memory. What is the virtual memory? The virtual memory is space on the hard disk drive that functions almost as if it were RAM, right? But remember, this is your workspace. RAM is your workspace. Hard disk drive is like your drawer or your bag where you keep things. This is where you do things. So when you do work where you should be keeping things, like for example, you're writing on your bag or your drawer, it will slow down your system somewhat, right? So instead of doing this, there are certain improvements that you can make or the OS can make. For example, newer versions of OS, instead of using the hard disk drive, right, they can use the Ready Boost. Ready Boost is where they use your solid state storage to mimic RAM, meaning to have extra space for RAM. Meaning, for example, they can use your SD card or thumb drive, right? So please do remember that solid state is faster than hard disk drive. That's what the OS can do. Otherwise, what you can do is you can buy more RAM, right? You can buy more RAM, another RAM, another RAM, right? Now you can have more things running in your computer because you have more RAM, which is usually what people choose to do. I constantly do lots of things, photo editing and everything. So I purchase another RAM stick of another 2 gigs, for example, right? So that is the OS managing lots of things, right? So please, let's try and remember again. The OS provides us with the user interface, and through the user interface, we can say something. For example, we can click on an icon to open an application. The OS needs to know where the application really is. Then once the application is loaded into RAM, the OS needs to manage the RAM, right? How many applications is inside there? If there's too many applications, I need to use the virtual memory and etc. Right? So that is the 5 basic functions of the OS covered.